Okay, the recording has started, and this is the September 10th, 2019 Rook community meeting. And we are working towards a 1.1 release. So we will discuss the patch releases that we still have yet for 1.0, as well as the burn down and remaining items for 1.1. I'm hoping that by the end of this call here, we will have a bit of agreement on what the release target date is for 1.1, and so that we can start making plans on announcements and information being shared and socialized about the release coming up. So let's start first with the patch release action that we have here. So Travis, could you give us an update on that? You cut that on Friday, right?
Yeah, or was that a week ago Friday? So that was done a while back, 1.0.6, and no other updates.
Right. Yeah, so we don't have any, like this RBD volume mapped on multiple nodes. Like we had that item kind of tracked in here for a while, but that's not going to get its own independent patch release, right?
Right. At this point, I mean, if we find the fix, we'll put it in a 1.1 patch release. Yeah. And that, I haven't seen a consistent repro either. It's like for large volumes and part of the repro. So, it's been.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. So let's turn our eyes to 1.1 then.
My eyes are turned.
Okay. So at least in terms of Ceph issues, I know EdgeFS has worked towards the V1 moving towards stable V1 in this release, and so that's been some great progress there. There are a number of Ceph issues still here. Travis, do you want to go ahead and speak through those issues? And what are the big blockers? What are the risks? What are we concerned about? What are the long poles?
Right. Could you actually switch to the project view?
Yeah, I can do that.
I think that'll be more useful for this conversation.
All right.
And as far as I know, it's up to date. So a lot of those issues we saw in the other milestone view were what we put in the patch release column, meaning don't see them as release blockers, and they can wait for a patch release. And a couple of them, or maybe even more than a couple, already had PRs, but I'd suggest whatever's in the patch release column that we wait for a patch release and not block the 1.1 release itself.
And so none of these are critical enough to hold the 1.1 release. That we've already created the release branch. We ported a number of things back to that branch, but there aren't really big outstanding items that we are holding the train for.
Exactly. There's the one PR that's in approved just for the last backport that Blaine just opened. That gets us all the latest backports we need.
Is that is that on the board here, or is that?
Yeah, the reviewer approved column.
On the right the reviewer approved. Okay, that one.
Yep. So that one will get us all the backports we need for the release. Everything in master still has been backported to 1.1 because we haven't diverged yet. So yeah, it was pretty simple to create the batch backport PRs. And thanks to Blaine for finding a good way with Git to do that.
And how, thank you, Blaine. How would you say, because this is the first release where we've gone through this process of having a bit of a longer release branch bake time, and having like the beta tag on the release versioning as well. How has that process gone in your opinion? Are there improvements or things that did not work well, or has it been pretty smooth?
One thing that I think I wasn't sure how it would work out is all the backports. Well, as long as we didn't diverge master, it was pretty straightforward with what Blaine found out how how to create the backport PRs with Git magic. So I think that worked pretty smoothly once he figured that out.
And what is this Git magic? What's that?
I was asking Blaine if he wants to speak to that.
Oh yeah, is there something that we need to document further, or if Blaine gets hit by a bus, we lose our Git magic?
Well, I did document what I did. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Blaine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I documented what I did this morning, and then also like what I did. I guess it was last week. But like an upside down rebase, where instead of rebasing like a branch onto master, or like rebasing master underneath a branch, I rebased a branch underneath a branch off of master in order to get all of the missing commits, basically. And there was a situation where there was a commit that we didn't want to take, and then that was just as simple as dropping that commit from that. Like,
Yeah, you kind of cut in and out a little bit towards the end there, Blaine, but I think I heard most of the summary around doing the rebasing there to get all the commits into the release branch.
Yep. Yeah, there was one commit we wanted to drop, so then just able to drop it out of that PR, and then we ended up adding that later, and it worked out.
Cool. And one thing I've felt consistently about Git is that the more that I learn, the more proficient I get with it, the more confident I feel, but also at the same time, the more dangerous that I get as well.
Don't want to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, or the repo structure. Cool, Blaine. Thank you for figuring that out and getting to that. So that it looks like then that we are in good position for figuring out our final testing and getting everything signed off. What are the big remaining sign off things that you know of, Travis? Is Dimitri or anyone from EdgeFS on the call too? I don't see them on there.
Yeah. Just one more comment about the item in the to-do column. That one, actually, I should move it to in progress. It blocks NFS on OpenShift, but it's a really simple fix, and I was just testing it, so I may have a fix for this. But even still, I don't know that anybody would be blocked on that for the release. It's a less common or less used feature. Anyway, so we could. My view is, I think all the blocking issues are really resolved. It's a matter of sign off at this point, and let's pull the trigger on the release and then go for patch releases after that. So yeah, I think unless somebody brings up blocking issues, that we're good. We could get in a couple more fixes while we're doing final validation, I think. I'm not against having another fix or two, but all the blocking issues I know of are ready or fixed.
Cool. And then, so, that's all things from the technical side. And then, any sort of blog posts or press releases or outreach or socialization, marketing, all that sort of stuff. Do we have a sense of, what particular content that we want to be publicizing as part of this release? And if there's any sort of ordering or constraints around that?
Well, one thought I had around the blogs is that with so much work that's going on in the different storage providers now, it feels like a single blog post is not going to be able to capture all the work that's being done. So my thought was, what if each storage provider that has major changes in here creates its own blog post on the Rook blog, and then we have one overall blog post that kind of summarizes and then points to those blog posts. So that would, in my mind, that would be like Ceph and EdgeFS and Yugabyte DB.
Yeah, I know that we talked to the Yugabyte folks, and they definitely want to do a blog post as well about talking about their new integration and introducing Yugabyte as well. So that's definitely something that they're interested in.
Yeah, I see Samir on the call.
Samir's here.
Hello. Yep.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and this is Rob. Actually, I got a copy of I got a draft of Gigabyte's blog post last night. I haven't looked at it yet. So that's definitely something they're planning.
Great.
Excellent.
You got a copy of a draft, or what was that?
Yeah, they sent me a copy of the draft for the Rook blog for Gigabyte, so I'll take a look at that and then let them know to circulate it with this group.
Right. And if we can just post it up on Medium and have people review it, I think that's how we usually do it.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to ask, because now we've got more people. It's like, what's the process you folks want to use for?
Yeah, who's the primary author on the Gigabyte blog post? Because we can add them as an editor or an author, contributor, whatever the term is, on the Medium blog, so that we can add that in a draft form, and like Travis was suggesting, and then we can solicit feedback and iterate over it there in the format that it's going to be publicized in. So if we know who's the primary author, or who's accountable for driving the blog post for Gigabyte to completion, then we'd be happy to add them as a contributor to the blog.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's Jimmy Guerrero, and I can send you his email.
Or Andrew Nelson. I'm on the call.
Oh, okay, great. I'm sorry.
Awesome. Cool. Then we can follow up on that, and then we can drive that blog post to a final releasable state in the blog post format. Travis, and then is anybody on the Ceph side already drafting a blog post there, or?
That hasn't started yet. We need to figure out who's going to do that. Blaine and I, maybe we can collaborate on that. Or if anybody else is interested in writing, we can chat.
Maybe as a point to note, besides the release post, I'll probably be soon writing a blog post for the well, to put it like, it's something with CNCF. I think till the end of the month there's like a chance for some companies or so to write up like a blog post or something from media side, and there will also be from my side a mention there about the release in that separate post. Just to note that.
Where is that post, Alex?
Something from the CNCF. My colleague just approached me and was like, "Hey, would you like to write another blog would be for CNCF."
Like on their blog, on the CNCF blog?
Not directly. It's like a media rotation or something. I think it's like in the newsletters or something. I can't tell you for sure. I need to ask my colleague again. But just to note that there will be another post coming. I think around
separate from the official Rook blog.
Sorry, what was
it? So that'll be separate from the official Rook blog. That'll be the CNCF.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up as I just remembered it. That there will be another one.
Great.
So I'll be glad to read through the ones every storage provider created, so I can pick the best features and parts besides what I know already for that blog post as well.
Cool. Let us know if you need if you want any like feedback or review of what you're writing up, Alex. So happy to provide feedback.
I'll let you know. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so then like the technical stuff seems to be wrapping up, and we're feeling good about the quality level, etc. We do need confirmation, I think, from EdgeFS still, but it seems like the last pieces here are around getting the write-ups and blog posts done. So we can drive those asynchronously, and it'll be good to drive those from the medium.com, Rook blog site as well, so that they're all in one place and we don't have to look in multiple places and multiple docs to kind of pull everything together. So it'll be all in one view there, and we can do drive feedback and iterate over those to get those to ready to from draft to ready to publicize.
Yep.
Are there any other big items that folks have concerns about for the 1.1 release?
Well, just a final note on the blogs. What do you think about having an overall blog that talks about general Rook things and then link to the storage provider blogs. Did that make sense?
Yeah, I think that does make sense.
Okay, cool. And yeah, I'll think about or start putting together drafts for that too. All right, that's it for blogs. Jared, do you want to ping EdgeFS guys about that, or I could either way.
Yeah, if you could do that right now while I'm taking these notes here, just ping Dimitri about if you what their blog post plan is.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, sounds great. Then looks like we're in good shape for 1.1. That's awesome. Okay, so do we? Let's move on to the major features merge since the last meeting section. And so, you know, Travis, you're writing there, so I'll give you a second here. A big accomplishment was for EdgeFS to move from V1 beta 1 to the V1 status for their CRDs and their API. So that makes 2 of these storage providers now have gotten to the V1 stable status. So great work for EdgeFS to drive that and to improve the quality and get to a stable place for their support in Rook. So that's awesome. And that'll be definitely want to make some big news about that in the 1.1 release notes and blog posts, etc. And then Seth has a couple of items mentioned here as well. Travis, do you want to speak through?
Unmute myself again. All right. Yeah, just a couple of features that come to mind since we met last that could be useful for other providers as well. So we've got so pod disruption budgets. It's a concept in Kubernetes that helps applications handle upgrades of the underlying Kubernetes cluster. So their PDBs are really designed around a pod disruption. Well, if a storage provider in this example is more tied to a node than a pod, like in the case of Ceph is tied to OSDs to the nodes, and you might have multiple OSDs per node. So we really want something that acts more like a machine disruption budget during the upgrade process to disrupt all of the OSDs at once. So this, this is in for Ceph now. And I just want to point out it could be a useful pattern for other storage providers too, if the normal PDBs don't work for them. The machine disruption budgets are an OpenShift specific concept, really similar to the PDBs, just at the machine level. So I'm not sure how much, well, the pattern is there if people are using it on OpenShift. And those are the main things other than stabilization.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Travis. Something I realized I completely glossed over and skipped was that we talked about what's left in the 1.1 milestone, and we talked about driving the blog posts to completion and ready to publicize. In terms of the actual target date for the release, it feels like then that getting blog posts together and iterating over the feedback, et cetera, that to target Thursday would be my vote, so that we have time to get some of the posts together and then get the feedback and get everything to a good state like by the end of the day tomorrow, and then actually run the release maybe on Thursday. Does that sound reasonable to other folks, or what are we thinking about that?
That's what I'd like to target, Thursday. Tomorrow's too tight since we haven't started the blogs yet. There are no known blocking code issues. That's the comforting thing. But in parallel, we need to continue testing to see if we do find any critical issues too.
there might be one kind of issue which we may overlook right now is that we should document the kernel requirements, the kernel version requirements for the Ceph Nautilus version. As there is, I can't tell you the number. I'm trying to find it, but I haven't really, found it till now. Wait, was it that one? No. But there are some people having issues with basically using Ceph storage because the Nautilus release, when you install it by default, seems to set the feature set, well, to put it like this, basically too high. And with that the people can't really use Ceph because their nodes are not having the required kernel version for the features which are enabled, or well, the tunables, whatever it's called there, to directly mount the storage without basically modifications in quotes in regards to kernel upgrades to their systems. To bring that up.
So we can deal with that in documentation, at least. You think, or is there?
Sorry, what was that? My headset just died.
Yeah. So we can just document that. There's no code fix, right?
Yeah, it's a whole documentation thing. I just wanted to bring it up that even though it's not a code thing, we need to keep that one in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's document it. Yeah. Thanks for keeping on top of that. I've lost track of a lot of Slack issues. I'm slacking off.
Yeah, the users on GitHub basically went back and forth, and one person was then like, "Hey, I have this and this kernel, and now it's working." And so, and from what he wrote, it sounds like we need to document it. I'll look into that.
Cool. Thanks,
Alexander. So Alexander, it looks like in the community topic section here that you have the first item around GitHub project teams. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, that part came up when I wanted to mention, like, there was an issue or something. I think something with Ceph CSI in specific, and like with at least, for example, the maintainers. If I want to mention all the maintainers, I would do add rook -io/maintainers as from GitHub mentions. But if I wanted to mention like the Ceph CSI people that are doing stuff with Rook, for example, or even the people that do just general Ceph storage work in Rook, I would just kind of propose if you go ahead and add like teams/groups, whatever it's called in GitHub, to be able to mention the people like that. That I can do, for example, add rook -io/Ceph to get the people that do mostly Ceph stuff, or Ceph -CSI, then there to get the people that do the Ceph CSI parts, integration and so on the Rook side, to kind of make it easier to, hey, this is an issue for you guys, kind of, and like, well, or like, hey, ping, could you please take a look or something.
And so the intent there, Alex, is mostly around group mentions and notifications. It's not around like security or permissions access.
No, it's completely about, no, it's not about permissions there. It's just about communication, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
Right. Yeah, let's look at that.
Jared, what about if we take a look at that together?
Yeah, there's
Yeah, maybe after the release we could look at that, so we can focus on the release for now.
Okay.
Great. Next week then.
Cool. Yeah, we'd be happy to help out with that. And I would think that you might have permissions to do that yourself as well, Alex. But we could definitely look through it together to make sure we're setting it correctly.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking that we do it together. So I'm not sure if I have the right permissions there, or if I already have them.
Cool. All right, so the next topic here, Travis and I met with the security team that the CNCF works with to do security audits of CNCF projects. A security audit is one of the requirements for being able to graduate a project in the CNCF. So we had a kickoff call with them this morning. and kind of figured out what the scope of that effort is, how to collaborate. So the one note there, a negative note from that, is that the timeline for their availability to take on the Rook project here is not and not as soon as we wanted it to. They would not be able to commit to this work until December or January. So we need to evaluate what we can do for security audits in a nearer time frame than that, and figure out what our plans are for how that fits into graduation process and all that. But I wanted to make everyone aware that the process excuse me, the process has started for performing the security audit and getting the security disclosure process in place as well, and getting all that completed. So we're working on that now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then let's move ahead to the PRs that need discussion here. So we talked about this one already here, right? The backport PR, Travis. Is there anything else to mention there?
I don't think so. I think we just need to get that in and run that release build.
All right. So that was the last topic we had in the agenda written down. Were there any other topics that folks wanted to add to the agenda now before we adjourn? All right. Okay. So then we will, over the next 2 days, we are targeting Thursday for the 1.1 release. We will work on iterating on the blog posts on blog.rook.io. We will give contributor access or editor access to anybody who's going to be authoring a blog post there, and we'll collect feedback and we'll drive those blog posts to be ready to complete. We will follow up on final sign-off for the release from all of the storage providers, and any blocking issues that come up we will deal with in real time. And the 1.1 project board will try to keep up to date for any of the lingering issues that are blocking or preventing the 1.1 release. So hopefully by Thursday, we will have blog posts ready, and we will be able to run the release and get that out in the hands of our users. So thank you everybody for joining in today, and we will meet back here in 2 weeks.
Thanks everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Talk to you later.